Well, back when we were growing up, we were on the farm there in Jessamine County, and we were involved in tobacco and cattle. We started our work in 4-H. Clarence Mitchell was one of the county agents, and Mr. Rout was took us around. We got involved with dairy cattle, and my brother and I, over the years, were breeding Jersey and Guernseys, and had milking. We milked cows on up through college, even through law school. We were operating the dairy and also raising tobacco. And we were very fortunate in that Mr. Harlan Veal, Sr., was the vocational agricultural teacher there at that time, Nicholasville, the Nicholasville Future Farmers of America. And Mr. Veal had been active in future farmer work probably from the early beginning, and had served probably as a state officer, and was very knowledgeable about FFA, and we were involved in a school that had an outstanding record when we came into the program of persons that had been active and served both on local and state and district levels. And Mr. Veal was outstanding in helping to develop the abilities of the students. There were, in my judgment, there were no students that were in that program or in his classes that didn't grow and become active in many ways within parliamentary procedure, speaking, and development of their abilities in many respects. And so it was a challenge to be in that kind of atmosphere and to work with Mr. Veal and also the other students. And throughout the years, his program had several outstanding FFA members that became state officers. Many of them, at least 2 or 3 state star farmers. And I know we just lost one of those outstanding individuals. Donnie Ray Jasper died in February. And we had other outstanding members. Charles Miller served as a state president, and their other active, Selden Little was another member of the chapter. George Williams, many years ago, was an outstanding, maybe a star farmer of Kentucky. And so we've had a number. Robert Thompson was another member in our local chapter that served and was outstanding. And so Billy Lee Bradshaw. And so the atmosphere of the program that Mr. Veal encouraged, of course, was not only participation, which was important in the learning process, but we had those that were ahead of us that we looked to in guidance, and so it was a program of excellence that helped us to be, when we competed in speaking contests or parliamentary procedure, it became a very important thing, and there was always practice and attempts to work toward an excellence that was very beneficial to those that participated. Well, I think he had a special knack of knowing how to communicate with the students, and that's characteristic of many ag teachers across the state. As I served later on the state level and went to chapter meetings and got to know more of the ag teachers across Kentucky, it was one of the outstanding programs, in my judgment, for youth. And the ag teachers, I think that there's a combination of the strength of the ag teachers and the parents, and that combination sort of helps to strengthen what I think and believe to be the best program in our country, actually, in this area. And so we had the opportunity to participate, and it was very interesting and a life-altering experience. Well, of course, we had our agricultural work that we were doing on the farm, and of course that was important because we were improving and attempting to better the agricultural practices there. But as well, we were involved in, for example, the creed contest, and some of the significant contests that we were involved in was parliamentary procedure, and also in public speaking and impromptu speaking. And through those years in high school, I had the opportunity to be in those contests, and it was an opportunity to grow and to learn how to express ideas and to communicate in ways that were also life-altering, in that they have been beneficial throughout the things that we do in church or in the community or in other respects.
When did you first think that Howard Downing could be a national FFA president? When did you ever start having the thought of such a thing?
Well, probably after I'd served as a state officer, and also in working with Jerry Ringo, who was one of the outstanding FFA members that was ahead of me in school, and he also served as national vice president of FFA, but also was beyond that an outstanding leader and an outstanding person. He died shortly after, within maybe 2 or 3 years of the time that he served as the national vice president. But he was very influential to me, and I looked up to the ideal that he set as a national officer and as a state officer, but also as a person. He was going to the University of Kentucky at the same time I was, and before I was interviewed for the national office, I had talked with him, and he gave me encouragement. But it was a goal that seemed unachievable, but it was a miraculous event in my life.
Well, did you go to the FFA camp when you were in high school? And what was that like?
Yes, it was an outstanding program, and probably I think was recognized as maybe the best in the country at that time. Mr. Maddox was there at Hardinsburg, and we went down. I think the improvements in the buildings and all are much improved now, but I remember the week that we were there was an outstanding program. I remember there was an award that was given that I had on my jacket, and I was very proud of that, and very glad to have the opportunity to attend. And even though the facilities were less, there was the leadership part of that program was outstanding. Well, we had there were 6 of our national officer group, and for many years we had not gotten together or had Christmas cards, and were not in direct communication. But when the National Convention came back to Louisville several years ago, we tried to get our group together to try to meet at that National Convention. And so for several years now, our group has had at least 4 of our 6 officers at each of the conventions. And when it went back to Indianapolis, Jerry Rulin, one of the national vice presidents who lives just north of Indianapolis, sort of hosts our group, and we get together there for the convention, and then after the convention we go out to his farm and visit and have a get-together, sort of a reunion each year. And when it's in Kentucky, I'm sort of the host, and after the convention, we've gone over to Shakertown or had time that we can meet with our family and spouses to renew our friendships and reminisce about the old times.
So you've done that on an annual basis for the last
Yes,
several years?
that's correct. And we're in communication with each other throughout the year. Well, I was in the UK College of Agriculture and graduated in the College of Agriculture, and then decided to go to law school and attended the UK University of Kentucky Law School. And after that, I served for a year as a clerk at the Court of Appeals in Frankfurt under Judge Squire Williams. And after that, I came back to Nicholasville to open up an office and ran for county attorney. And I fortunately won that election and then served for 37 years as county attorney in Jessamine County. And I did not run in 2003 and have been in private practice after that time. Of course, it's important, in my opinion, that the background in the FFA training and leadership that we had has been extremely significant in my ability to assist people in the practice of law, and also in community activities and in church. And it has been something that I've been extremely pleased to have had the opportunity to do.
Do you still attend the state convention here some?
Yes, we have, and we are amazed at the constant improvements and changes and updates that happen both in the state convention and also in the national. And so things grow, and the organization seems to be stronger and more outreach to more students, and the more access that students have to the program, I think the better for the students and also the organization as well. They do an excellent job, and they apparently they're very busy as national officers.
Did you do much traveling as a national officer?
We did quite a bit of traveling. Actually, after we were elected, we were in Kansas City. The convention for many years was in Kansas City. And of course, one of the things that we as future farmers look forward to was the opportunity to go to Kansas City to the national convention. That was something we all looked forward to. And I remember our group, and I'm not sure which year in high school, that we were going to Kansas City, and we all were on a bus from our chapter, and what amazing time it was to be there with FFA members from all over the country. Mayor Bartle always gave a welcome to the FFA members, and one year Harry Truman spoke at the National Convention. He lives close by in that area, I think, near Kansas City. And so the National Convention was always a very significant event and impact for a young future farmer for the first time. And so we always look forward to going out to the National Convention. But after we were elected, we stayed in Kansas City for a week, and we're at the Royal, and we had some orientation there. The national headquarters were in Washington, and following the convention, there was a national tour that started probably in January for probably about a couple of months. And the national officers met in Washington, D.C. For maybe 3 or 4 times during that year for planning and orientation work. On the national tour, the FFA officers toured some industrial companies and other supporters of FFA and the FFA Foundation. And we were meeting in New York City, and we went to Ohio and Minnesota and Chicago, and there were arranged scheduling to meet with companies and officers and to go to industries that serve agriculture. And so those experiences were very interesting, and also quite a few things built into a schedule for that length of time. After that, the various FFA officers, national officers, were assigned to various states to attend their state conventions. And I was invited on an interesting trip to Texas, to a community that invited the national president down for 1 week to speak at many of the FFA chapters in that particular area in sort of East Texas. And we had some good experiences there, barbecue almost every night, and a very friendly and welcoming community in Texas, and an experience with officers there. We were at the California Convention, South Carolina, West Virginia, and many of the state conventions in the country. The FFA officers were flying primarily to these locations as a means of travel. And so it was a year that required me to drop out of the University of Kentucky for the time that was taken. And my brother took over more responsibilities on the farm, and so it was a year of busy schedules and outstanding experiences meeting future farmers all across the country.
Did you keep any kind of a scrapbook or anything of your experiences that year?
Well, my mother kept a scrapbook, and so I had some notes, and then we, at the convention that we presided over that year, each officer made a report of their activities and the areas and conventions that they attended. So that to that extent, it was documented.
Still have any of your old FFA jackets?
Yes, I have one that I'm aware of. I have another that I have, but I don't know where it is at the moment. It was stored away, and I haven't been able to locate it. But I do have those.
Did they have the national jacket in those days that didn't have a name on the back like they still do?
That's correct. That was the jacket that, and of course, as an FFA member, everyone was aware of the significance of the jacket, and you're always looking to see where someone's from, or what the chapter is, and to meet new people. I was elected state president in '56, '57, and I did not get to go to the National Convention to serve as a delegate, which I had always wanted to do. My stepfather died just near the convention time, and I did not get to attend that convention. But then I was elected '57, '58, so I didn't get to serve as a delegate, but I got to preside over the National Convention later as the national president, and an outstanding experience to do that.
As you think back, did you feel like at that time the Jessamine County schools and people appreciated the fact that they had a national FFA president from their community and school? Did they make much ado about it at that time?
Well, I'm sure they did. I know we were on the Ed Sullivan Show during the national tour, and what had happened was that we were in the audience, and Ed Sullivan announced certain people that were there, and they announced that I was there from FFA, but he mispronounced Nicholasville, Kentucky. But there were people all over the community that mentioned that later. We were also on the Arthur Godfrey Show, which was a nationally televised program at that time, and so we had some interesting experiences in a variety of forms. The TV in New York City was kind of where those were scheduled. We also saw Vice President Nixon when we were in Washington, D.C., and got to visit with him, and so the FFA was recognized in many ways in that respect.
Well, just anything else that you'd like to share for the history of the FFA from your own perspective, to kind of summarize up your experience in life? I guess you were in the FFA from the 9th grade on through, serving as a national president. Any words of wisdom you'd leave with us today?
Well, that's true. It was an experience, a life-changing experience that in almost every respect helped me to grow and to experience the opportunity of speaking and participating in activities, and to know people, to communicate with others, and also to learn more about agriculture and the production that we were in at that time. But the people that we've had the opportunity to meet, the friendships and the people across many states, has been a very significant thing and impact. And it's an opportunity that students today have through their FFA programs, and I see outstanding abilities and enjoy knowing that the work is being continued, and when I see Blue Jackets, memories flood across my mind about the many experiences we've had.